Well, hello there. Can you believe that it is the first Monday in December? Wow. And you know what that means? It means I'm wearing a puffer jacket. No, that's not what it means. It means we're getting closer to Christmas. Can you believe it? It seems like, does it seem like it just comes so quickly? You're not prepared for it, and then before you know it, you're in the middle of summer and you think, oh, it's so far away, and then boom, here we are. Wow. Well, exciting things ahead for us during this season. Always loved this season. Always loved to celebrate the birth of our Savior and just to point people to Jesus. It's a great time. A lot of people do come to church during the months of December, and they haven't been around for a while, but it's Christmas and they feel like they got to check a box, or maybe a family member invited them. I say bring it. Come on. We'd love to see you. And hopefully this won't be the last time we see you, Don't just come on Christmas. Come throughout the year and grow in your walk with the Lord. But again, looking forward to this time. But here we are, still in the Gospel of Mark. At the end of Jesus' life, he has been betrayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. All his disciples have scattered. He's now taken to stand trial illegally, I might add, before Annas and before Caiaphas, who is the high priest. And that brings us here to verse 55 of Mark chapter 14. Now the chief priests and all the council sought testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. For many bore false witness against him, but their testimonies did not agree. And some rose up and bore false witness against him. And they said, we heard him say, I will destroy this temple made with hands, and within 3 days I will build another without hands. But not even then did their testimony agree. It becomes very obvious that Jesus, in the midst of this illegal trial in the middle of the night at the home of the high priest, that he was not going to be given a fair trial. There's no representation. There's no one to defend him, to counter the prosecution. He's just there on his own. Everybody's left him. And of course, the religious leaders were trying to raise false accusations. So what did they do? They put false witnesses on the stand. And there wasn't anybody saying, I promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. No, nobody was doing that. They were telling not the truth at all. And so the false witnesses came up and they took parts of what Jesus said and they twisted it to make it say something else. That's what false witnesses do. There's a little bit of truth, but they're missing the main point. And so they brought all these together. They tried to find these testimonies, but none of them matched. None of them added up. They didn't, the witness that they gave didn't incriminate Jesus in any way. And one of the things they said is, he said he was going to do this. He was going to destroy the temple, and then he was going to rebuild it. Actually, Jesus was talking about the temple of his body. He said, if you destroy this temple, not the physical temple there in Jerusalem, but this temple, I will raise it back up in 3 days. But of course, they twisted his words and to make it sound like what they wanted it to sound like in order to incriminate him. And that's what false witnesses do. They lie. And so Jesus isn't going to get a fair trial, and he's really not responding. He's not reacting. He's not defending himself. He's just silent. I mean, why are you going to defend yourself if you're innocent? There's really no need. So what Caiaphas does, you'll notice this, in verse 60, and the high priest stood up in the midst, and he asked Jesus, saying, do you answer nothing? What is it these men testify against you? Verse 61, but he kept silent and answered nothing. And again the high priest asked him, saying, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? Jesus, the Bible tells us prophetically, he was like a lamb before his shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. He did not defend himself against false accusations. It's not easy to do, is it? You ever been falsely accused? You ever had somebody say something about you that wasn't true, and you found out about it later? Hey, so-and-so said such and such about something you, what? Why would they say that? I never said that. Why? And you can't really defend yourself. Maybe it's a social media thing or it's a something. There's really no way to, it's really pointless. In fact, the Bible tells us in Proverbs, I believe it's Proverbs chapter 26, verse 3, that don't answer a fool in his folly, lest you be like him. I mean, it's just a waste of time trying to defend yourself. Rather let the Lord defend you. Let the Lord be your defense, and there's nothing to say if you don't have anything to say. So Jesus didn't answer, but the high priest, getting frustrated, what he does is, the other gospels fill in the gap. He puts Jesus under oath. And this was something that you could do where it would compel the prisoner to respond. And so he puts Jesus under oath, asking if he was the Christ. And Jesus responded. Notice, Jesus said, verse 62, I am. That's big. I am. The reason why that's big is because back in Exodus chapter 3, when Moses came to the burning bush and God revealed himself to Moses, Moses said, who do I tell the people sent me? And the Lord spoke to Moses from the burning bush and said, I am. Jesus taking this title for deity. Are you the Christ? I am. That would have sent shockwaves through this gathering. And then he went on to say, and you will, I am, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. That is a reference to the Messiah. Yes, you want to know if I'm the Christ? Okay, I am. And there's coming a day when every eye is going to see me. You know that every eye is going to see him when his second coming, he comes back. Every eye will see him, even those who have pierced him, and they will weep over him when they recognize where he got his wounds from. They'll ask him, the Old Testament prophet says, where did you get your wounds? And he said, I received these in the house of my friends. Every eye is going to see him. Now, when Jesus made that statement, this was it, because the high priest had it. Verse 63, the high priest tore his clothes and said, what further need do we have of witnesses? You've heard the blasphemy. What do you think? And they all condemned him to be deserving of death. So when Jesus made this statement and confirmed that he was the Christ, the high priest, in the tearing of the garments, basically was an outward demonstration of an inward feeling. He just tore his garments and cried out blasphemy, and everybody got together and said, he deserves to die. They condemned him. But not only did they condemn him, look at the next verse, verse 65. It says, then some began to spit on him, blindfold him, beat him, and say, prophesy. And the officers struck him with the palms of their hands. This illegal trial quickly turned violent as Jesus was now being spit upon, being beaten with the palms of their hand, being blindfolded, and having his beard plucked out. It's painful to listen to. It's painful to read. But you realize that the reason why he endured what he endured, well, was because of us. He loved us, and he was willing to sacrifice himself in order that we could be saved. Listen, get your mindset going into December that Jesus is indeed the reason for the season. Don't get sidetracked by all these other things, and it's wonderful and this is great, but the main thing is this is about Jesus. He was born to be our Savior. May the Lord bless you on this Monday. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless.